Praising God. As always, let's call Jeremiah chapter 37 the same. In this chapter, in which the first two verses show Zedekiah and the people once again turning a deaf ear to the words of Jeremiah. Verses 3 through 5 going on to show that Zedekiah sent to Jeremiah, who was not yet in prison, once again seeking a word from the Lord. Verses 6 through 10 showing the response that the Chaldeans will be back. In a not so lengthy, but relatively lengthy passage that says, even if they seem utterly defeated, they are still going to be able to take Jerusalem. You are not going to be saved in this circumstance. Verses 11 through 15 going on to say that Jeremiah's reward for giving them the word of the Lord accurately is being seized for fleeing as he's going on about his business. However, he is going to take his portion of his inheritance in the land of Benjamin. However, that action is being misinterpreted as him fleeing to the Chaldeans, understanding that he has already given a word that those who go to the Chaldeans will be saved. However, that's not what he is doing here, understanding that even though they do not take him into custody immediately, they're still holding the grudge that eventually manifests in them interpreting his legal and legitimate actions to claim his inheritance as deserting to the enemy. Why? Quite likely because their consciences are getting to them, understanding that they have the freedom to make their own choice. They don't want anyone else to benefit from actually obeying the word of the Lord. And so they take Jeremiah into custody, leading into verses 16 through 20, where Zedekiah once again is going to send to Jeremiah, this time in custody, where he is going to give him the same news. And I think what happens this time is he calls for Jeremiah, who is in custody, to privately consult with the king outside the hearing of anyone else. And if that's not the way it takes place in this chapter, that's literally the way it's going to happen in the next. But I think that what is happening here is a series of interactions where the king is calling for Jeremiah wherever he might be locked up to give him a brief reprieve so the king can get a word from the Lord. Verse 21 showing Jeremiah making an humble plea to the king that since you continually keep digging me out of lockup to get a word from the Lord, can you at least give me a better condition in which to be locked up? At which point the king provides for Jeremiah to get at least a loaf of bread from the market, as long as that will last, until the kingdom is finally taken over by Babylon. This chapter reminding me that in life, the very same people who are willing to hold you up to open shame when they are pressed and personally at a loss still know where to get the truth, helping you to understand that there are times in life when you are not being ostracized and held up to open shame because you're lying, but because you are telling the truth, they simply flat out don't want to hear. And it won't be until God presses them again into a corner that they'll abandon the prophets of their prosperity and turn to a place where they can get a reliable word from the Lord. Which is why we sometimes say, my prayer for you is my prayer for me. God, you please strengthen us and encourage us to be a reliable word from you and not just a convenient word for the moment. So that whether or not our words are received or rejected, as it is sometimes said, we are able to keep that same energy that you provide to those who accurately speak the truth that you have given.